Hey, what's up guys, it's Jay. So I had about a week to mess around with the Legion Go, just play a bunch of games, mainly Metaphor Fantasio at the moment, and actually mainly playing on bad side. So I wanted to give you guys kind of that overall experience that it didn't cover in the first impressions. That video is, I'll link it down below, but that one was more about just the physical aspect, how it feels in the first, few 24 hours and then the first couple days that I had it. But now I had about a week to kind of use it. I can give you guys a better impression of it. So I kind of want to give a couple use cases, right? So if you don't have a, gaming PC or a, nice console experience, I think this is a really great just all-in-one replacement because it can act as your PC, your main PC. You can have a monitor connected to it, set it up. You have two USB-C ports. The thing is really powerful, especially if you can get it for $500, which I paid for. So, I mean, it's amazing at that price. It's kind of hard to not get one, really. There are some cons with this device, and I'll get to those in a bit. But I wanted to talk about the good parts first. So the display, really bright for what it is. 8.8 inch LCD. I think it's an IPS display. So it's pretty nice, and the colors are really vibrant. Compared to an OLED, of course, is not as vibrant, but to be honest, I'm okay with this kind of display. I have a 77-inch OLED TV, and so I'm I'm basically spoiled. But this is really good for what it is, especially at the size, and you can just play it whenever. Now, I will say that if you're kind of want to play on the go, the battery is, it's okay. You're not going to be able to get crazy good battery life because it has a 49 watt hour battery, which is pretty small. It's about the same as the Steam Deck OLED, and the price is actually, it's about the same. It's a little bit cheaper than the Steam Deck, but not by much, right? So this is kind of like that equivalent model in terms of price to, performance, I guess, because the Steam Deck, it's more battery efficient at those lower TDP. So from 5 watts to 15 watts, the Steam Deck OLED is a lot better performing, but past 15 watts, right? If you want to play more intensive games at higher fidelity, this is kind of that device. Also, it's a bigger screen, 8.8 inch versus a 7.4 inch OLED display. So, you kind of have to factor those in, a little bit differences there. But the other thing is the frame rate, right? So this can do 144 hertz versus the Steam Deck's 90 hertz OLED. So, from that use case, right? If you're looking for kind of an all-in-one device, this is a good device. If you're looking for a companion device, I'm not sure this is the best choice just because, you do have the Steam Deck out there. It can play a bunch of games still, especially light titles. It can play it more efficiently. You can bring it on the go because this thing is freaking heavy. I don't remember how many grams it is. You guys can look it up online. It's 800 plus grams or something. And then the Steam Deck OLED's 600, 700. So there's a bit of a heft, right? And it's quite bigger. So if you're trying to travel and you're trying to carry this thing on you in your backpack or your suitcase or whatever it is, it's kind of annoying, right? I haven't had the chance to do that, but I can imagine already it's kind of annoying even with my Steam Deck. So this is probably going to be even worse just because it's heavier and bigger and whatnot. But the dimensions is not that much bigger, right? But just the overall footprint of those two devices, it's man, this thing's just heavy. But the display though, I wanted to kind of just mention one thing, that it is 144 hertz, but you probably won't get to use that. So it's kind of over-spec'd it for this kind of device, because unless you're playing really lightweight titles, you won't be able to get the best out of it. And I actually can't play any games here because I took my SD card out. But this does get about 60 hertz. You can get about 60 FPS for most titles. I think you do have to adjust every game. There's settings inside, in-game settings. But I think the biggest thing is, again, it's just a matter of what games are you trying to play, what fidelity, and do you care about being plugged in next to a wall outlet or a battery bank or not? So if you want to play on the go, this might not be the best option, just because then you have to bring a battery bank or a charger with you, all that kind of stuff. Because again, it's 49 watts, so it's 49 watt hours. So it's, this thing on 20 watt TDP for the GPU, it's about like, 20 watts plus 10-ish watts for the CPU portion of it, of the APU, right? So you get about 30, 35 watts total. And then if you max it out, it's 40 watts. So you can only play about an hour and a change, right? Because the thing total is 49 watt hours. So it's one of those things to think about, right? But if you're plugged in next to the wall, this thing will outperform the Steam Deck any day of the week. There's just no contest in that sense, right? So that's really what it comes down to, right? So if you want a device that can do everything, even be a PC, because it has Windows on it. Although, right now, again, I'm using Linux, but you want a Linux-like experience for when you want to game, you can just dual boot, get a 1 terabyte, upgrade this at 512 SSD, right? Upgrade to 1 or 2 terabyte for a little bit, for pretty cheap. And then, you're good to go, right? You have just one device, you can get a dock, USB-C connected to a monitor, and you're good to go, right? This thing will be your everything device. But if you're like me, I have a lot of devices, right? I have a high-end PC, or not high-end, super high-end, but fairly high-end PC. I have a PS5. I have a home theater PC for my TV and whatnot. So for me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, the use case is less, right? This is more like a nice premium device. But again, the biggest thing is just, if you're okay with those things, right? So let's say you're okay with all those things, right? You're willing to, hey, I don't have that, I don't have that many devices. I want just one device. Cool. What are some of the issues that you may have to deal with? Well, the biggest thing really is when you're playing handheld mode, right? Again, I mentioned it in impressions, but these corners really dig into your palms, the base of your palm right here, quite a bit, just because of like the way it's placed, right? So you see it, if I'm holding it like this, you can see it's just gonna just dig into it, because the way my hand holds it, my hand's holding it like this. So all my fingers right here, right? And the only thing left for this piece of the device is gonna go here. So it's really annoying over time. At first I was like playing for a couple hours when I first got it. I was like, okay, it's there, I can feel it, but it's not a big deal. But then as I was playing like, 10 to 15 more hours on Metaphor, I was just like, oh man, this is kind of getting annoying. Some of the other cons, just with the fact that is a transformable device, so you can, convert this into, FPS mode, right? So you can take the joysticks out. So it does add more complexity in terms of the hardware, right? So, these two controllers, right? Essentially, they each have their own battery. They have a pogo stick connector here. To detach it, it's actually pretty easy. There's this button right here. You can just pull it downward and it comes right off, and then it'll just connect. It does take a couple seconds there. It's a little bit slightly slower than the Switch, but it's not terrible, to be honest. So just, that's a couple things I noticed right off the bat. The joysticks are really, really nice though. If you ever use magnetic Hall sensor joysticks, these are just game changers. They're a little bit smaller than console-sized joysticks, but not a huge problem, to be honest. But I really love the feel of these. The D-pad kind of sucks, I'm not gonna lie. So if you're using this for like fighting games, nah, this is not gonna work, right? So think of this as a PC Switch, essentially, right? It's a Switch that can play Steam games, Windows, all of that stuff. And it kind of has the same compromises that you get with a Switch, right? Terrible kind of controllers, except for the joysticks are actually really good. These are not the most comfortable. You can buy like aftermarket, like little 3D printed grips here for the bottom piece from what I've seen, and that seems to fix the problem. I haven't bought them yet, but the thing is, like, man, this, you know, it just adds more stuff you have to buy. So I'm kind of like trying to think of like, okay, like what's the minimum that you can get away with, and you know, what can you upgrade first? So for me, I would probably upgrade the storage device, right? Right now, this model was the cheapest, and it was 512 gigs, right? So I'll probably upgrade that to 2 terabyte, especially nowadays, games are really, really expensive, or not really, really expensive, but they're really, really, they take a lot of storage. So that's probably the first thing I'd upgrade. And then the second thing was probably buy a battery bank if, you know, I plan to take this on the go or whatnot, if that's what you want to do. But if you're looking for like a companion device to be on the go, and you don't really care about like, you know, docking it, using it as a mobile laptop, that sort of thing, this device makes less sense, especially at its normal price. But at its lower price, it's a really great deal. You can't really, it's hard to say no. So that's kind of the kind of like my impressions of it, just using it for about a week at this point. Everything's been great. The buttons are good, no issues there. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. Are you guys gonna plan and get one, or are you still gonna look at the AliEx or the Steam OLED? But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.